JBN, we keep you informed. Man shot dead off Maxfield Avenue. A man was killed Monday night in the ongoing violence in the Sunlight Street community of Maxfield Avenue in St Andrew. Investigators reported that about 10:30, residents heard explosions and called the police. The body of 45-year-old Michael Brown, a resident of Maxfield Avenue, was later found on Sunlight Street. Last week, a 16-year-old boy was shot in the head during a shootout involving rival gangs. 3 murders in Eastern Kingston Division within a 5-hour period. 3 murders took place within a span of 5 hours in the East Kingston Police Division, including a double homicide in Arborview on Wednesday. The Corporate Communications Unit CCU within the police force confirmed the murders. One of the victims in the double murder has been identified as Delroy Hibbert, who is believed to be in his late 50s, while the other victim, another male, remains unidentified. Both were killed in the vicinity of the Arborview Mini Stadium between 4 and 4:30 p.m. There was also a murder early in the day involving 30-year-old Daniel Grant, who was shot and killed at a store on Mountain View Avenue at about 11:15 a.m. Police of the East Kingston Division are investigating both incidents. St. Mary man charged with wounding with intent. Detectives in St. Mary have arrested and charged 26-year-old Colin Murray of Islington, St. Mary, with wounding with intent and illegal possession of a gun, following the shooting of a man in Islington on June 12 of this year. Reports are that about 8:45 p.m. the complainant was walking home when he was allegedly attacked and shot by the accused. The police were summoned, and on the arrival, the complainant was taken to hospital where he was admitted for treatment. The now accused man subsequently turned himself into the police and was charged following an identification parade where it was pointed out. The date for his appearance in court is being finalized by the police. $232 million SOEs spent on police so far for 2019-2020. For the 2019-2020 financial year so far, the government has spent a total of $231.7 million for the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF to sustain the states of emergency SOE in the 5 parishes and 1 police division in which the security measure is in force. The SOEs, which are to run at least until next February, have been declared in the tri-parish area of St James, Hanover and Westmoreland, as well as in Clarendon and St Catherine. The emergency measure is also enforced in the St Andrew South Police Division. In response to questions posed by the parliamentary opposition to National Security Minister Dr. Horace Strang recently, the applicable overall expenditure has been listed for financial year 2019-2020 as at September 11. A breakdown of the figures shows that the overall average monthly cost of the SOEs to the taxpayer was $38.6 million. A further breakdown shows that St. James accounted for the bulk of the expenditure with approximately $93.2 million, followed by Westmoreland with nearly $61.2 million and Hanover with $56.15 million. St. Andrew South came next with $14.5 million, followed by Clarendon with $5.4 million and St. Catherine with almost $1.2 million. Dr. Chang did not state the amount that was spent by the Jamaica Defence Force JDF. However, Fitzjackson, the opposition spokesman on national security, suggested during a December 3 debate on 3 resolutions in the House of Representatives to extend the SOEs until February, that if the figure was doubled to account for the JDF, then taxpayers would have already forked out nearly $500 million to date to sustain the SOEs. In St. James, $50.43 million has been spent on meals, $7.77 million on accommodation, $4.57 million on drinking water, and nearly $420,000 for portable toilets. Police personnel in Hanover ate meals amounting to nearly $19.7 million, while accommodation cost came in at $2.8 million and drinking water at $2.5 million. Tents were billed at $91,598 and the chairs at $241,155. Over in Westmoreland, police personnel ate approximately $16.6 million, while their accommodation came in at more than $25 million. The Westmoreland cops drank $2.85 million worth of water, while $810,000 was paid for tents to protect them from the elements. Additionally, $562,695 was spent on chairs, $803,850 on ICT equipment, $2.1 million on security barriers, and $833,000 on reflective cones. More than 800 police and military personnel are spread across the SOEs, with the majority being stationed in St. James, which has seen a noticeable increase in murders despite the security measure being in place for most of 2019. Officers' spirits broken as leaky pipes, broken toilets, flush hopes of better working conditions. Crime fighters, assigned to 3 separate units in one of Jamaica's toughest police divisions, say they are working in squalor and are desperate for a change in fortunes. Members of the Proactive Investigation Unit PIU, the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse SOCA, and the Scene of Crimes to St Catherine North are lamenting the condition of their office spaces. "We may have swapped black pussy monkey," one officer assigned to the PIU said in snarky colloquial reference to the odd decision to relocate the unit from a building on Martin Street, which once housed the Spanish Town branch of the National Housing Trust, to a section of the Burke Road Police Station, which he described as being unfit for human occupancy. The Martin Street building sits smack between turf dominated by 2 of the old capital's most notorious gangs, Klansman and One Order, and is said to have been earmarked for renovation by the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. Attempts to have the Mayor Norman Scott speak on the issue proved futile, as calls to him went unanswered, but a source said that several reports about the rundown state of the offices have been made in the hope that they would make their way up the chain of command to have the situation arrested. The building is in a very deplorable state, and so we had to move for multiple reasons. On top of that, it offered little by way of security because it was never constructed with the sensitive nature of a unit like Sissoko in mind, said an officer who wished not to be named. In the meantime, all 3 units, formerly housed at the Martin Street property, have since been relocated. The new locations afforded them, the Burke Road and the Central Village police stations, are equally inadequate. Where we are now located is really a dump. We are worse off than where we were before we made the move, said one officer assigned to the Scene of Crimes unit. We are stressed out because of this, because we feel that our work is not appreciated, and in fact, it could negatively impact our cases, a detective said. The St. Catherine North PIU is said to be one of the most successful units of its kind in the island, based on its work to dismantle gangs, but they too are practically homeless. Members of the unit have to resort to a virtual office space to get their jobs done, as the area assigned to them at the Spanish Town police station is not suitable. Suffice it to say that when we were told we were to be relocated, we were up for it because the state of the building on Martin Street was really poor, one officer said. It is even worse in their new home. The building is in a deplorable state. It is dilapidated, and there's water of some kind leaking from upstairs into the bathroom below, and the team can barely operate out of the space. It is very bad. It has broken our spirits and left us feeling unappreciated, neglected, and depressed, one team member said. A messy broken toilet, along with an office area without windows to allow for proper ventilation, were among the conditions observed on Monday. In addition, there was no air conditioning and not even a fan was in sight. We are at a distinct disadvantage here. It's like a storage area. The fixtures in the toilets don't even work. It's inhumane to say the least, one officer lamented. Mackenzie warns persons who impede vector control workers. Minister of Local Government Desmond Mackenzie says that members of the public who impede the work of vector control workers in stemming the spread of dengue could find themselves in trouble with the law. He gave the warning at a local government town hall meeting held at the Trelawney Municipal Corporation in Falmouth last Thursday. There are many cases where, in people's backyards, in unused swimming pools, they are breeding grounds for mosquitoes, and despite the attempts by the authorities to do their jobs, in some cases, persons chase them from their premises and threaten them. Well, I want to send a warning that the government is going to respond to persons who obstruct people who are executing their responsibility to rid this country of the dengue epidemic, he said. He noted that Jamaicans have a responsibility to clean their surroundings in order to reduce mosquito breeding sites. As elected representatives, we have a responsibility to respond to dengue, but equally, the people have a responsibility to be responsive in how they operate, he said. Mackenzie informed that officials from the ministry will be meeting with key personnel from the Ministry of Health and Wellness on December 27 to discuss and roll out another phase of our fight against the dengue outbreak. The meeting will include the mayors and chief executive officers of municipalities. For his part, Regional Operations Manager of Western Parks and Market, WPM Waste Management Limited, Garnet Edmondson, noted that the agency is increasing waste collection in Falmouth for the festive season. Residents of communities located close to the town centre tend to bring out a lot of waste. So there's a special program in place for us to make sure that we have twice per week collection for those communities. So we should not have our town centre filled with garbage during the Christmas period going over into January, he noted. He said that the working hours of public cleansing officers will be extended to ensure that there's full supervision during the season, while the landfill will stay open longer. Presently closes at 10 p.m., but we will go up until 1 a.m. to ensure that all trucks can be accommodated, to ensure that our turnaround time will be quicker, Edmondson said. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.